Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Melinda. So, Melinda says, I read Brain Over Binge years ago, and I knew this was the right track for me. I've been following you ever since. The last few years, I've been struggling with severe, crippling health anxiety and panic attacks. I've recently gotten ulcers and a host of other health issues. I need to change. I'd love to enroll in the next Change Little School of Big Change in the fall, but I also have a question. If our thoughts aren't real, we just pay attention to them, especially the ones that get us stuck in a loop, then are the good ones not real either? Is nothing real? I guess I feel I'm so close to trying to be able to understand, but I don't fully grasp it, and I'm afraid my brain won't let me. So, Melinda, you're absolutely right about your last statement. Your brain won't let you. Uh, and that's really important to see. So your mind is wanting to make sense of this as minds do, right? Your brain is saying, wait a minute, if this is true over here, and therefore, if thought isn't real, and I would say thought is very real, we feel it, but it's not telling us the truth. You know, it's not accurate. It's not true or accurate, but it is a real experience. But either way, if it's not true, real, accurate, that when I feel anxious and when my mind's repeating and when I'm stuck in these loops, if I can see that that's not true and real, what am I supposed to do when I feel great, right? And that's all what a mind does. And trying to take something that you kind of see, that you're seeing, Melinda, you're really getting on to the fact that there's more going on than what your mind is telling you. But your mind wants to grab that and then apply it all over the place. And that's where we get into trouble. That's where, and it's not really trouble, but that's where we find ourselves feeling really confused and like we don't get something, and kind of the way that you're feeling right now. Your brain won't let you. There's no way it will understand all of this stuff. But that's okay because it doesn't need to. You kind of have a sense of things, and even beyond your mind, like you don't have to have a ironclad solid sense of things that you can go explain to people. You just want to kind of get a feel for it, you know. And it's weird because it's the feel we get for this is closer than our mind. That's why it's so hard to put into words. It's like when we talk about how life is living us and we're made of health and we have everything we need, and then we have this narrator up here talking about it all, narrating the whole thing. By the time we get to the narrator, we're like out here a bit, if that makes sense. Our mind is trying to explain something in words that already happened. It's done and over with. It's happening all the time, always, never not happening. Meaning life is living us, and we're just seeing things and acting on them all the time. By the time we try to put words around that, we're sort of too late. So that's why it's so hard to explain with words and try to wrap our heads around this stuff, because it's just happening so close to home. It's like so close that words start out here. I know this is crazy how I'm trying to show you this visually, but it's like life is living us right here, and the closest that words can get is already past that. If that makes any sense. It makes sense to me, but I have no idea if that's translating. But just know it's kind of beyond language and concepts and words and even mental understanding, brain understanding. It's subtler than that, and it's simpler than that, and it's more natural than that. So what I want you to see is that you are okay. Always. No exceptions, no matter what. All is well. And you have a mind that constantly checks on things and talks about things and tries to predict things and is just trying to keep you safe. So when you talk about having anxiety and health anxiety and panic attacks and all of the stuff that's going on, I really want you to see like life has no problems. You have no problems, Melinda. But your mind is really active, and we get caught up in our mind. We misidentify with our mind. So your mind might be worrying and thinking and planning and figuring and wondering when the next panic attack is going to happen, and thinking about how you're going to fix all these health issues. That's a mental conversation that in a really sounds really crazy, but in a sense has nothing to do with you. Really see if you can get a feel for that. It's a process, it's a mental process that has nothing to do with you. It's just a mind trying to solve problems and talk and figure things out the way that minds do. But that's not where any kind of peace or any sort of solution is going to come from. The peace is there already. It's again, it's closer to home. It's before and beyond all that mind thinking. So you say if our thoughts aren't real, well, I'll say they're real experiences, but they aren't true and accurate. The stories that our thought, the content of our thoughts is not true and it's not accurate. It's incredibly biased, incredibly repetitive. Um, we just pay attention to our thoughts, right? Especially the ones that have us stuck in a loop. So thought just shows up. Our stuckness, our feeling like we're in a loop with them is our fear and our resistance and our thinking they're true and serious and personal, right? So thought just moves through us all the time, all day, every day, everyone on earth, from the minute you're born to the minute you die. Thought is just moving through. Melinda, you have so much thought moving through you that you couldn't care less about. You don't get stuck on it. You don't worry about it. You don't think about it. It just comes and goes. The huge majority of your thinking works in that way. All of your thinking wants to work in that way. But there's this little tiny subset of things that your mind has decided are a problem, right? Your health issues and your anxiety and all the stuff that is like your mind's just favorite stories at the moment. And so, I mean, and I can't express to you how tiny that portion is compared to everything else. So almost always you are well and thoughts just flowing right through. And a tiny little percentage of the time, there's some content and some topics that your mind has decided are scary and wrong and shouldn't be happening this way. And so it like puffs them up and grabs them and has a big conversation about them. And that's what we feel as problems. What we call problems is simply life happening in a way other than how our mind says it should happen. So again, it's our mind story saying this should be going this way. So your mind is saying I should feel good, I should be healthy, I shouldn't have anxiety and panic attacks. And so when anything in that bucket comes up, moves through you, there's a lot on it. There's just a lot on it. So you just want to see that that's what's happening and know that what's on it is just more thinking. And you don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to speed it along or slow it down or stop it or prevent it. You actually can't do any of those things. It's all safe. It's all okay. All of your experience is safe and healthy and okay. We just want to see if you can kind of lean into it a little bit without taking the story so seriously. The story says, oh no, this isn't okay. Well, that's a story. And the truth of things, the bigger picture, it's all safe and it is all okay. So we start to get a little more comfortable with our feelings. And then you ask your question, right, about, okay, I can kind of see that about all that loopy thinking, that it's not accurate and true. But what about the good stuff? Well, all thought is moving through us, and it gets kind of biased and it's very creative and all of that. So all thought's the same, but I think you're okay with that. I think everyone's okay with that. Where that kind of messes us up is when our mind jumps in and says, oh, well, if my happy thoughts aren't true either, or if my good thoughts aren't true and accurate either, then what? And just consider that there is no then what. All we're looking at is how this works. How does our human experience work? There is no then what. We don't need to think that far ahead. That's a mind. That's a machine way out here wanting to acting like it's figuring everything out and like it's doing everything. And it truly isn't. It's just narrating what's already happening. So yeah, in a sense, like you can absolutely love your cat. And in some moments you're so madly in love with your cat. And in the next moment, your cat's just kind of cute. And in the next moment, you don't even see your cat in the room. It's a good thought. I love my cat, but it doesn't show up the same way all the time. So that's what we mean by it not being, true or stable or solid or real, as you say. It's just that it's fluid. It's fluid and it's creative and it's created new and fresh in each and every moment. the thoughts that our mind labels good and the thoughts that our mind labels bad. All of life works in this way. All experience works this way. So we get to just keep backing up, seeing, knowing that it's just moving through us. It isn't as it appears. It needs nothing from us. We don't have to do so much to manage anything because our nature is pure health, pure peace. Like, there's just nothing that needs fixing ever. And I really want you to hear this, Melinda. Your health issues, your anxiety issues, there's nothing that you need to fix. But your mind will jump up and down and probably swear at me right now and demand that yes, that is not true. There is stuff that needs to be changed, and that's exactly what a mind would say. Just be curious about that. And ironically and amazingly, in our seeing this and in our backing off of it, we see the truth of it. We see that but for our mind resisting and throwing a fit and telling all these stories, we actually are okay in everything that shows up. And when you are relaxed enough and you feel okay in anything that shows up, you don't have ulcers in the same way. Or if you do, you totally different experience of them. You don't have all the health issues that people say are stress related health issues. Those come from the resistance, not from the fact that you have anxiety. All anxiety is resistance. It's just more resistance to what's moving through. So I said a lot. I hope that something in this lands and helps. And again, I said this in a way that your mind will never grasp. Mine won't either. We're just kind of feeling how things are before our mind works. Just get a little vague sense of it if you can. And that alone will help so much. And yes, I'd love to have you in the little school big change in the fall because it's this on steroids, and we go through this so deeply and over, and you see it in other students all the time, and it's just incredibly helpful for getting a really solid feel for this that changes things in big ways. So thank you so much for sending your question. I really hope it's helpful. And to everyone else, send your questions to Ask Amy at thelittleschoolofbigchange.com. Questions about anything, I love to show up here and speak to them. So I will see you back here doing that next Monday. Bye, everyone.